Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, we got a few things we're going to go over here. We got some chaos at McGill University, which of course the mainstream's trying not to show everybody, as well as some other crazy Hamas protests right across from a Jewish school. We're going to dabble into a few more things, and then with last of all, we're going to hit that Preston Manning did an interview after that op-ed that seems to really have thrown everybody's panties in a knot out east, which doesn't surprise me because they have no idea about Western life. They just don't. That's like on the other side of the mountains in BC, oblivious to the eastern side of BC. But that's why people like me are out here trying to give the entire Canadian perspective from one coast to the other. Let's just kind of start with this McGill. This is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, it's embarrassing to say the least. This is my country.
McGill University in Montreal, Canada has been overrun by Islamists, with the student intifada taking over classrooms and common areas on campus.
Look at this. Holy shit.
They're literally calling for the end of Jews. Like think carefully about this. This is in Canada.
This was not a peaceful takeover by any means, with the protesters physically blocking students from entering their classrooms. And inside the classrooms, the protesters took over, writing strike on the boards and telling students to get out.
Yeah, there's a strike going on from Wednesday to Friday. You guys are encouraged to not attend class. What we're trying to do is get the least amount of people to attend classes, cancel classes, which show support for Palestine. You guys are free to leave. I would encourage you to do so. We're going to be making noise outside.
Riot police finally showed up to curb the chaos, but it seems like they were in no urgent hurry to bring the disruptive protesters to justice.
This is our liberal government. Carney's just going to make this worse. It's just going to exasperate things. Our complete country has gone to hell in a handbasket because of this complete ignorance. Ignorance for the right and rule of law. This is just so embarrassing.
This commentator said, "The cops are there as props. They do nothing." And with uncontrolled chaos taking over the campus, many are asking where the administration are and why are they not stopping this from happening. Management of the institution have remained tight-lipped on this latest uprising, apart from one email, according to this commentator, who said, "Islamists at McGill University are going classroom to classroom, disrupting lectures and telling students not to attend class."
The cost of going to school nowadays. What right do these students, if they're even real students, what right do they have to interfere with somebody else's right to get an education in which their dollar is paying for? They're going to have to pay off these loans, or their parents are working especially here in Canada, working their butt off to pay for this schooling. This is just...
The administration's response? An email merely urging respect. How is this even legal? And this commentator doubled down, slamming the administration, saying, "This happened at your school today, McGill president. We don't need to remind you that you have a fiduciary responsibility to provide a safe learning environment for all McGill students. What disciplinary actions will you undertake? This latest McGill Islamist takeover is only the latest after 18 months of continued pro-Palestine disruptive protests at universities across the globe, which don't seem to be calming down anytime soon. Just this week, a group of protesters ripped up their diplomas from Columbia University whilst chanting "Free Palestine."
Good for them.
Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free, free, free!
And then they just throw it on the ground. Stupid is as stupid does.
But Donald Trump, true to form, is no longer accepting these great institutions being overrun by degenerate protesters. He has instructed a review of $9 billion in grants and funding given to Harvard University and will not hesitate to cut this money if DEI hiring and disruptive anti-Semitic protests continue.
Well, at least somebody's doing something. At least somebody's doing something. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, and then we're gonna move to this. This is quite funny. Oh my lord. Bye bye Canada. This guy posted this on here. It's amazing how many people are actually leaving Canada, like I showed on a couple previous episodes. But yeah, can't live and no work. At least you got somewhere you can go, buddy. A lot of people here have nowhere to go. I get so many comments on all my different platforms that most people, they would have picked up and left 5 years after Trudeau was in power, but they were already too broke, and now they've lost everything. They got no money. They're in debt. They can't leave. They can't even leave the province to come out west or find a better life anywhere. It's that bad. And there's people that want to re-elect this completely insane Liberal Party. Oh my God. And then you get the leaders, like this is their supposed glory boy. I'll translate it for you. I'll turn the volume down a little bit here so you can hear my voice. But so he's asked on Radio Canada, are you still going to buy American strawberries?
Est-ce que vous en achetez encore des produits américains? Est-ce que vous achetez des fraises des États-Unis? Vous envoyez fraises des États-Unis? Hein?
OK. Je dois vous donner une réponse bizarre, dans un sens bizarre.
And now, you know what's embarrassing? Ours, you can translate the French. In the French debates and stuff, you've got to actually go and find your own translator. Or you got to watch CBC or CTV for them to translate it over for you. Luckily, somebody had already translated this. But in other words, he just said, well, I don't know. I'm the prime minister. I actually don't buy my food. So he's like, my answer is going to be a little bit bizarre, but I'm the prime minister. I don't buy my food. Like, that means you don't have a choice on where you're buying your strawberries. So you're still getting these great big plump red strawberries from the States? Or are you not? You're the prime minister, aren't you? This guy is completely oblivious. Just an absolute idiot. Just an idiot. And then, of course, this is more craziness. Oh.
All the Zionists are racist. All the Zionists are terrorists. All the Zionists are racist. All the Zionists are...
So this is a residential street in Toronto. It's right across from a Jewish school in a Jewish area. It's like it's not necessarily a place of worship. I don't necessarily think it's a place of worship. It looks like it is, but I don't want to say it is or isn't because I don't know for sure, but it is in a Jewish neighborhood though, and these people, they're just allowed to get away with whatever they want. Pretty bad. And then this is kind of awesome. So thanks to all of us who've been breaking these news stories about Carney and his 5-story so-called office in Barbados and Bermuda and all the rest of the place, that I exposed the one there where it's actually a 3-story, little wee 3-story bicycle shop, where they're getting away with tax evasion for whatever, trillions of dollars. A reporter actually brought it up and asked, and of course they're saying how this is their breaking story. So this is their breaking story. They did all the research. Sure you did, CTV. Sure you did. Let's take a listen to this idiot.
Judy Trins, CTV News. Good morning, Mr. Carney. You were at the helm of a company that quite clearly registered much of its business in Bermuda to avoid paying taxes, including, as CTV News reported, registered to an address of a bike shop in Bermuda. You have said that this is the way the world works, and that in the case of pension funds, that leaves more money for pensioners. But in this case, it looks like just plain tax avoidance. This may be a legal practice, and as you say, as the world works, but is it ethical, Mr. Carney?
First off, I'm no longer at Brookfield. Secondly, this follows, their arrangements follow the rules, including the tax rules of this country, other countries. And
You did not really respond to the question as to your opinion as to if it was ethical, but let me follow up on that. You wrote a book, Values. The thesis of that book was that capitalism or markets left to their own devices don't help humanity. For years, your party, the Liberal Party, has promised to stop the practice of tax avoidance that Brookfield and other companies have engaged in. Do you have the tools to do that? You said so. When are you going to release and tell Canadians what those tools are, and when will you implement them?
In terms of having a fair tax system in Canada, including for corporate taxation, it's absolutely a priority of my government. If we are re-elected, it'd be a priority of our government to ensure that our companies are paying their fair share of taxes.
That, my friends, is a blatant lie. Like when you're going in to talk to a banker and get a loan and he says, that's the best we can do. Lies. All lies. These people are, really, they're psychotic. So this was at his rally yesterday. Figured you'd like to see this.
That was going to send a man to his death. That's the party that you're supporting. You're supporting a man. You're supporting a man.
Stay back. Don't fucking touch me ever again. Enough.
We're done here.
And then this girl, she started it. Like the other girl is recording, trying to get numbers. It's in the open, it's in the public. If you don't like it, put your head down. You can put your hand up. I know personally it's kind of an oddity because it is your face, but these are the rules we live with. You got to abide by the rules. You don't like the rules, vote a different frickin' party. And but this is the freedom, and this is what cell phones and stuff have brought. Everybody has a camera now around with them, so she didn't like it being filmed. Obviously, an embarrassed liberal. Why don't you go hide your face like the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian Hamas? Might as well do it that way. You don't see conservatives acting like this when they walk by the liberals who are doing the same thing. They just laugh and wave. But anyways, she ends up going and getting a cop and bringing the cop. I want this girl charged. And of course, it's all caught on camera. And there's other pictures later on that the girl shows where she's all scratched up on her neck and just chaos. Humanity is unbelievable. And this is at that said rally at the end of it. Now, there's footage that makes it look like there's a really big lineup. It's just, again, it's propaganda. This is inside that building. I don't think there was 500 people there, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. But this is the end of it, and this is all of his fans. So I just figured I just got to give fair show so everybody can see. You want to see the numbers? Here you go. This is Carney's. This is in the heart of Toronto. This is Liberal County, man. All of these little areas, right? Scarborough. Ooh, look at all those fans. Oh, I'm going to have to mute this. I don't want to have to worry about the copyright. Yeah, there's a couple clips I saw. I was doing a head count. I was counting like 315 to 330. It's kind of a little bit hard to say. The way the room's designed, it's got all these little inlets and outlets that come out. But really, it's like a really big banquet hall is all it is. So I don't think it's got a capacity limit more than 500. And then of course they had all of the blankets all drawn and closed off to all of the other areas. So there wasn't very many people there. Scarborough. Don't trust the polls. But that doesn't mean don't get out there. Get out there and vote. You have to get out there and vote. If we win, we got to win this big. Yeah, that's about enough of that. But yeah, just so you get to see the numbers. Now, Preston Manning wrote this op-ed. And he's got everybody's all panties all in a knot. Because they're trying not to talk about the Western separation. And I'm telling you, it's explosive. On the prairies, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Eastern BC. I'm amazed at how many posts and threads I'm finding from people from Eastern BC. Holy, they want no part of the coast. No part. They're like these people, quotes, I'm going to go off memory here. Is it something in the ocean that makes people nuts? That was a good one. And that one was like used in many different kind of ways, but that kind of variable. Like something about the water running down the west side of a hill. There's a huge divide in that province. I was not aware. I know a lot of people from both sides of it. I knew that there is a big difference in the politics, but they always seem to be fairly united, and never really heard that until about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I started to see a lot of it, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago, it just exploded, and they're at war with each other, like on social media. They're calling each other out on it. Like, we're sick of your crap. You big cities ruling over us. You've destroyed our province. Alberta leaves. We're gone. So, like I said, this whole separatism thing, and I'm not hearing 51st state people. I'm hearing leave. Create their own country. Independence. That's something to think about. So anyways, this is an interview after he wrote the op-ed. This guy does a fabulous job on this interview. I'm going to play a couple clips from here. I think it's important that you hear from Preston Manning himself. If you watch like CTV where they're talking about it, you go into the comments, you see the brainwashies, the zombies. Preston Manning don't know nothing. They're idiots. People who watch that are... I'm sorry, you got to help break them away from that, because they are truly, you can't, there isn't a single iota of intellectual anything to what they're writing. It's yeah. I go through it just for a laugh because, I got to screen the videos anyway, so while it's playing, I scroll down and I read the idiot comments. It lightens up my mood. They're so hilariously stupid. But anyways, let's take a listen here. This is a really, like I said, and I post all the links in the description. I urge you guys, watch the whole interview. This guy does a really good job. Yeah, let's hear it.
Welcome to Hub Dialogues. I'm your host, Sean Spear, editor-at-large at The Hub. I'm pleased to be joined today by Preston Manning, the founder and former leader of the Reform Party and a leading thinker on Canadian policy and politics. Preston published a controversial op-ed this week in the Globe and Mail about what the current election campaign could mean for national unity. I'm grateful to share his arguments with the Hub's audience. Preston, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sean, for having me.
Your op-ed, Preston, has generated a lot of discussion and debate. Let's just start with the basic question. Why did you think you needed to write it, and why now?
Well, because I believe that any re-election of the Liberal government, particularly under Mr. Carney, is going to have very negative consequences in Western Canada, negative political consequences. You're going to have an increased talk about secession, which is something I disagree with, but that's what, in my judgment, is going to happen. And so what I was basically trying to say, particularly to voters in Atlantic Canada and Central Canada, do you realize, I know you don't want to hear this, but I say, do you realize that a vote for Mr. Carney is a vote to trigger a secession movement in Western Canada?
I know oftentimes the author, him or herself, doesn't craft the headline, but the headline for your column was explosive. It reads, Mark Carney poses a threat to national unity. Why don't you set out your thesis?
Well, I think that captures it exactly. If the Liberals were to be returned to office under Carney, standing behind him are 23 MPs, members of his cabinet, who 1 month ago were saying exactly the opposite to what he is saying today. These are people that oppose an obstructed pipeline construction for 9 years. Now they say they're for it. These are people that were fanatically committed to climate change when the rank and file of people were saying what we need is to get the cost of living down in this country so we can afford it. These are people that were on a woke agenda, which is increasingly being rejected. But if those same people are returned to office, no matter who the leader is, you're going to have a major rejection of the legitimacy of that government, particularly in Western Canada.
You say in the piece that, as you just set out, that large numbers of Westerners simply won't stand for another 4 years of Liberal government, no matter who the leader is, which prompts the question, Preston, to what extent is this about the Liberal Party and its dispositions towards Western Canada? And to what extent is it Mark Carney and his views about the environment and energy development?
Well, I think it's both. It's both. It's Westerners saying, how could we return to office a government with the track record of the current Liberal administration? And then when they get into Mark Carney's personal views, they see him as an elite globalist, been out of the country for 9 years. The idea that he has even an understanding of the current desires and wishes of Western Canadians, that's a stretch. And going and having a photo op with the Edmonton Oilers is not it's not the way to remove that suspicion. And what I'm concerned about, Sean, and tried to get at in that op-ed is if there is this great unrest in Western Canada, if the Liberals were to be re-elected, how can that be channeled in a constructive way? There'll be all kinds of eccentric people, there'll be extreme people, there'll be advocate all kinds of extreme ideas. And my suggestion was that we should plan for a Canada West Constitutional Conference where the various options could be considered democratically and provide some sort of a container for that energy which is going to be expressed if the Liberals are returned. Now, my personal hope is that there'll be a brand new government. And what Western Canada then would be doing is negotiating, talking to that government of what can be done to repair the damage that's been done over the last 9 years, and how can a constructive position be put together to deal with Mr. Trump and Canada-U.S. relations.
Okay, I'm going to speed ahead here just a little wee bit. I got one more little clip here I wanted to show.
There's something inherent to our system that stands in the way of Western Canadians' political preferences being expressed in our government, which is to say, Albertans and Saskatchewans in particular over successive elections have voted in large numbers in favor of a conservative government, but have had those set of preferences essentially offset or overturned by voters in the rest of the country. At some level, Preston, is that what we're talking about here? A growing sense amongst Western Canadians that the system just isn't working as they'd like it to?
Yes, I think that is part of it, Sean. And that's been part of it for a long time. Originally, the Senate was supposed to provide some kind of regional balance, but our Senate is unelected, is ineffective, and simply doesn't perform the function of regional representation. The fact that we do not have free votes in Parliament, where even members of the governing party who disagree with position on certain issues can't express that without defeating the government. This could be fixed by a 20-second statement by the Prime Minister, but it is not. I once wrote it out for Jean Chrétien, but he wouldn't read it. But yes.
I urge you to watch the entire interview. Like I say, I post all of my work down below. Of course, I don't post like all of the things I'm working on, future episodes, and of course any detailed or private information, especially things because there are a lot of other media outlets out there that like to steal my work, which is a compliment as much as it's an insult. I have lots of friends and family that ask, and they're like, I watched this, or somebody shared this, and they're like, oh, so and so's talking about it. And it's like, well, when did you watch that? Well, today. And then they'll send it to me, or they'll watch it and they'll say, they literally stole your work. You were there a month ago, or a week ago, or 3 days ago, and you know, and it does. It curls my ears. I get mad because I'm just getting started. But this is where I need you to like, share, and subscribe. Get the word out. It's really important. It's crucial. But anyways, I put all my homework down below. I urge you guys to check this out. It's a great interview, and it's a great host. This guy is really good. It's the Hub Canada. He's a small outlet. He has, I kind of stumbled on him probably a month and a half ago. I've watched a few of his, and I'm honored to be able to actually finally use one of his clips. I hope to be able to use him a lot more. I'm on a lot of a different path than what he is normally. He's just a really good interviewer. But I don't see any really discoverable or hardcore journalism end of it. But he's definitely well read. He obviously studies all the information pertinent to the people he is interviewing, which is crucial. He doesn't come off like a lot of these CTV and CBC and like even Global and them, like these pundits where they just throw softballs at them, you know, the obvious questions to make to make that person look good, or just insults. He's really good. And like I said, I urge you to watch the guy. Like I said, I'm going to try and use him as much as I can. All of us small outlets, we need to get as much airtime as we can. We need to get out there so that the public is actually aware of the reality of what fake news is. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. It's important. And if you are, punch that notification bell so that you don't miss any future episodes. And all of those options, the like, share, and subscribe, help me grow my channel. And please, if you have anything to say, leave something in the comments. I read all my comments. I try to get back. I love having a conversation. I love the dialogue. A good conversation is a clean debate. And that's just the best way for anybody to ever move forward. And our nation's in really bad shape. What we need now is a really good, clear dialogue with facts. So until next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I've been your host, alias Tagai. Stay informed.